Hello, everybody. Welcome to Creativity Plus, the podcast where we talk about creativity plus other things. It is me, your host, Mary Charisma. And if you're new here, I want to give you a special welcome. Thank you for joining us. And I also want to give an extra special thanks to those who have been listening since episode 1. I know we took a little break last week, but now we're back for the second half of season 1. Halfway through, guys. It feels good. It feels exciting, and I just want to thank you so much for listening and for your support. Today's episode, I'm going to be talking with my friend Erik Fishman, who's someone who I connected instantly with. We just started talking about music. We started talking about songwriting, about folk and country, which we will talk about more in this podcast. And it just seemed like such a natural fit to have him come on here and talk about creativity, since we do that all the time anyways. The theme of today's episode is creativity plus growth. I know for myself that creativity and growth have been extremely intertwined in my life's journey. It's like when I started allowing myself to create, I really started discovering who I am. And as I keep creating, I keep growing and I keep seeing new versions of myself. But there seems to be always this desire to make something. And that desire is really a driving force in my story. And I know that Erik agrees because he also shares something similar in his story in this episode. So this is just a really, really rich area. There's a lot here, and I'm so excited to share this with you. So let's just get into it. Creativity Plus, Episode 6. Creativity Plus Growth with Erik Fishman. Creativity Plus. What up, Erik?
Hey.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to Creativity Plus.
Okay.
The podcast where we talk about creativity plus something else. Today is something else. We've decided to talk about creativity plus growth.
Yeah. I love the idea of talking about creativity in relation to like growing and going through life's challenges.
Yeah.
Music is often talked about, or artists often talk about, as like a therapeutic act of expression.
Yeah.
And that feels particularly relevant to me, and I'm sure it does to you too, but that's where I feel like the growth factor comes into it.
Yeah, the like emotional growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
Let's rewind. Let's start by going into how has creativity been a part of your life?
Yeah, that's interesting. When I was younger, and by younger I mean like a child, I did a lot of drawing. I kind of fantasized about music, and like, putting big pieces of music together. For some reason, I really liked like the idea of composing.
Oh, cool.
But I had just no idea how to do anything like that. So, I felt like I was, in my head a lot, creatively, and like fantasizing about composing. It wasn't, of course, until years and years later that I got kind of like something anywhere near that on paper, or like realized, which was writing, singing and playing music. So I would say like my creative journey began with like really simple like drawing,
Yeah.
and then also wanting to actively make music, but of course not having like the skills to do so.
Yeah, music can be feel like there's a little bit more of a barrier of getting started. Like you need an instrument versus like, I have this pencil, I have this paper.
And I think with any medium, you have to be comfortable enough with that medium to really like see true expression take place.
Yeah, what did you like to draw when you were a kid?
I would draw a lot of like not like animation in the same way that you would think about like anime, but like whimsical creatures and things like that.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was just like fantasizing, I guess.
Yeah, no, I was the same. Yeah, that drawing was definitely my first
What did you
creative
draw?
thing. Similar, I think. Yeah, a lot of fairies, a lot of like
Cool.
people. Yeah, and then I about like probably middle school or maybe elementary school got really into anime, and I get those like books, they're like how to draw manga, and Drawing books are actually really helpful.
Oh yeah,
I think they're pretty underrated.
I
Like,
picked up a couple drawing
yeah,
books in I think middle school, and it was like how to draw like the human figure.
yeah,
Especially like the face is really tough. But once you like figure out like the basic points, I think it's pretty rewarding. I don't know.
yeah.
You have to invest in that like anything else. Like you have to invest in your skills, and then your ability to express yourself is just like exponentially greater.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like to get to that flow state, and we almost need to put in that time to get the fluency, to
Mm.
have it like in our muscles, in our bodies, to allow that flow to come out,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think especially I think about if I'm like in front of a computer and you're like, hey, make me a song, and I have to do it on like a digital audio workspace like Logic or something like that, and I have like unlimited digital instruments
Hmm.
like Serum and like anything else that you might use to make like digital sounds. I'm not making anything. That's like
Yeah.
way too many options. And I've always been like a firm advocate that like having physical restraints and limitations to what you can do, it really enables you to get in that flow state sooner because you're not worried about like creating too wide of sounds or like
Yeah.
having like too high of a diversity of things going on. You're not trying to like engineer like the world's next masterpiece. You're just like, oh, let me put like a pretty simple melody in here and like make it sound as good as it's going to get. And a lot of the time, in my experience, that's when a lot of magic happens.
Mm. Yeah, it's like yeah, you said a couple of things. The perfectionist. I feel like I need to write a masterpiece. Like this needs to be something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so stifling to that flow. It's like one thing I've found is reminding myself that it might be the next masterpiece, but it's not finished. If
Mm.
it's like this isn't even good, it's like, well, of course it's not good. It's like well, you've just started it. It's the bones. It's the like we're just figuring things out. I guess acknowledging that it's this work in progress. And so
Yeah.
you don't ever have to worry about not being satisfied with that attitude because
Mm.
it's not it's not done. Don't judge it yet,
For
you
sure.
know?
I think it's really nice to strip things down to their bones. Like
Yeah.
when you're writing a song, especially like on guitar, or at least when I'm doing this, it's helpful for me to just write something on acoustic guitar at first. And if I
Hmm.
really think that's a strong idea, then transfer that over to like an electric medium, add effects if you think it's suitable.
Mm.
But like a great idea on acoustic sounds great on electric. But
Yeah.
if you start out with a lot of effects and then you strip it down and
Yeah.
make an acoustic version of that, it's not always the same.
Yeah, it is really, I think, really hard to go that direction. Though,
For
like,
sure.
yeah, it was, and I think that's okay. Like, I think it doesn't detract from like an electronic dance song.
Yeah.
It's like the track that exists. Like, this was all made on computers, and it's groovy as hell, and this is great, and it's just never was meant to be on a guitar.
Yeah.
Not to say that someone couldn't do a cool acoustic cover.
Well, there's no wrong answers, but
Yeah.
the second that you get like effects and like tonal qualities involved,
Hmm.
whereas like an acoustic guitar has one tonal quality, and that's
Mm-hmm.
affected by how you're using your fingers. But
Yeah.
like the second you get like guitar pedals involved and stuff, aside from just like songwriting and creating a melody and putting lyrics to it and singing over it well, you have like a certain element of sound shaping. And, like you're
Hmm.
really like engineering what you want those sounds
Yeah.
to be like, and that's not always accretive to the other end of the spectrum, at least for me, because I'll
Yeah.
get pretty focused on like getting the perfect tone or something like that.
Yeah, I think it helps knowing what your session is about.
Yeah,
It's like
definitely.
because if what your heart is saying is like I want to be writing a song, I want a melody to come out, I want words to come out, I want to feel like I have a song written,
Mhm.
then it's like it's not time to do the sound shaping. But then sometimes it is the session for that where it's like, you know what, I am just gonna tweak a snare for half an hour.
Yeah,
That sounds fun to me. I want to do
and
that.
that's art in
Yeah.
itself. It's not always songwriting, right? But it's definitely art.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So growth. What how would you say creativity has helped you? Are there any moments that you can recall that maybe you were going through a hard time or like some project kind of you felt a Eric before this project, Eric after this project?
Yeah, I think I'd like to give a longer answer to that, and I could kind of
Heck
just like
yes.
kind of tell like chronologically where like my journey with music or how that started and what it kind of turned into. So I started taking like I took some guitar lessons when I was like 11 and 12, and it was mostly like self-taught thereafter. So I just learned some like good basic technique. Never learned much theory, or I never learned notation really. And I would say I was playing quite a bit for a while, kind of tapered off towards the end of high school, and then for the first couple of years of college, didn't play at all because I was in the fraternity house or in the dorms, and I didn't bring a guitar with me. And I didn't really feel like I was like missing out on that much, but I did still miss music. And I had another friend in the fraternity house who would play a lot of guitar as well. So we'd go to Guitar Center and like jam there. And they had like a really cool like synth display set up there, and they had this like little like very basic polyphonic synthesizer there called the Korg Mini Log.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Are you familiar?
I have a virtual version of the chord.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Korg Mini Log is like a very entry level analog synthesizer with a built-in sequencer, and it's polyphonic, so you can play chords instead of just one note at a time.
Hmm.
So I just like um didn't read the manual because I'm stubborn, and I just figured out how to like put together small sequences, and I started thinking like, oh, this is beautiful, and like talk about something with a lot of like creative restraints because it just has a very narrow range, and you can only like record a pattern up to like 16 bars or something like that.
Yeah.
So like you're very much like working in a very confined space, but with nice analog sounds. And I would show these sequences I would save to people, and they'd be like, "Oh, that sounds like Mario Party music." And like
Yeah.
to me it sounded like awesome. But like
Well,
yeah,
wait, isn't that a great thing? Is that a good compliment?
at the time it didn't feel that way.
Okay.
But I think
Okay.
in hindsight, I think it is because Mario Party music is great.
It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or Mario Kart music, whatever.
Yeah.
So that was kind of that, and then I moved into my own apartment and kind of quickly
Post
started
college.
no, still in college. It was my
Mm.
junior year, and started ramping up like my gear collection. And I had my guitar again. Wasn't playing a lot of guitar, but I was playing more. And I bought a couple other synthesizers, a drum machine, a
Yeah.
mixer, and I was just like plugging them to my amp through like the cheapest mixer I could find.
Yeah.
And got a bunch of noise complaints from my neighbor, and then
Oh,
and
yes.
then like figured out how to like route it all into my iPad and like record through my iPad, which was like a very strenuous process instead of just like doing the normal thing, which would be to like use a laptop. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, why did you want to do it on an iPad?
I thought it was like
It just seemed
more
cool.
cost effective and
Okay.
cooler.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah, the
time.
cost is real. I mean, yeah, like a fancy laptop versus an iPad.
Yeah, but you end up like spending so much on like the cheaper stuff, and then you have to upgrade it down the road
Sure.
anyway. So like it's not really saving money. It's just
Yeah.
like kind of half committing.
That's true.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, I've always been a big believer of like buying stuff when you realize you need it.
Yeah,
You know, when it's like you buy the fanciest, but you have no idea how to handle it.
for sure.
But there's also a good point. It's like you buy something really cheap and then you end up having
Yeah.
to replace it.
And
But yeah.
yeah, I mean, so at this point in time, I guess on top of everything else, I was
Mhm.
dealing with some black mold exposure. I just moved to Texas, some living in some super old dormitories, and like got really bad black mold exposure.
Oh,
And I was
yikes.
just like anxious all the time, but like something about analog synthesizers was like very warm, and like the more time I spent doing that, the better I felt, really.
Yeah.
So what I was doing was daisy chaining all these synthesizers together, which means you take a MIDI cable. That's like how electronic music was created in the 80s, before they had digital audio workstations on PCs and computers. So you loop them all together so they'd be like in time with each other and like playing the same sequences if you wanted them to. And you'd have like a drum machine, so something's keeping beat.
Yeah.
You potentially have like some of the synths like playing bass, some of the synths are playing like mid or high notes,
Yeah.
or something in between that, and then maybe like another layer or something like that. And you could really just be your own band, and it would all be computerless electronic music the way that it was made in like the 80s and 90s. But like things have also come a long way since then, so you almost had like less limitations than them.
Yeah.
More limitations than working on a computer, but less limitations than somebody making the same kind of music in like the 80s would have had.
Yeah, the machines have a little bit more of like a brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like there's been more advancement in the
Mhm.
engineering. So I was making really cool, weird music,
It's
and
awesome.
I was posting it on SoundCloud in like not really promoting it at all, but like, people liked it and I was liking it too. And
Yeah. Perfect combo.
yeah. Yeah, it was like I think like the nicest compliment I got on SoundCloud was like somebody in Berlin was like, "This song is awesome."
Wow, yeah. And for Berliner or like Sierra, like
in my head, they're saying it in like a heavy
yeah,
German accent.
so
This,
cool,
this song is awesome.
so awesome,
So awesome. Um,
and we apologize to any listeners who are German and artists. Please, yeah. Okay, I apologize for my bad German accent.
No, Germans have cool accents. I wish I could do it better.
Yeah, that's what
The only thing I apologize for is doing such a bad job.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So after that, I did have some more serious health issues as a result of
The black mold.
the black mold. So
Ooh.
I went to like and I was like, I wouldn't get into it too much, but like I was having some pretty severe symptoms, and I ended up going to like a treatment facility in Tampa Bay.
Okay.
And while I was there, I met an old songwriter who lives in Los Angeles named Cal Curtis.
Mm.
And Cal is a mostly retired songwriter. He still writes, but he wrote a couple like really big songs, probably more than a couple. But the one that's most notable is "Second Chance" by a band 38 Special, which is like a really cool 80s song. It sounds like it should have been in like the movie Top Gun.
Wow. Yeah.
And I encourage everybody listening to look up "Second Chance" by 38 Special. That's my buddy Cal's song. And he was like just this really interesting guy, and like he's like 70 something years old now, but we just became instant friends. And he's like the youngest person I've ever met. You know what I mean? He just has this like
Yeah, his
crazy,
soul.
he just got this crazy like charisma to him. And he was showing me he had a guitar there, and he was showing me like what he was writing and like sending me some tracks that he had been working on. And he was like doing all this stuff in like a very bluesy vein, like grungy bluesy vein, like very raspy voice. Totally not how he sounds on like any other music that he's done. But like he called them the Moses tracks because they were just like Old Testament kind of blues kind of stuff. And I was just like so stupidly, I was like, man, if this guy can write music on guitar, then I can write music on guitar. Which is wild because this guy's been playing guitar longer than I've been alive, probably 2x.
This is a very like young person.
Yeah. But I was also like, I just needed something to cling on to at the time.
Yeah.
Because I was really struggling and kind of going back to leaning on music through trials and stuff like that. So that was kind of like a natural segue for me to get back into writing music on guitar.
Yeah.
Before that, I had never written anything on guitar with vocals.
Okay.
That was like a big hurdle for me that I never really saw myself crossing. But I felt like I was being limited on what I could do on synthesizers because I don't really know how to play keys as well as I knew how to play guitar.
Yeah.
So when I got out of that treatment facility, I went and bought an acoustic guitar, and I started playing it quite a bit. I was playing like 3 to 5 hours a day for
Nice.
the better part of like 2-3 years. And I was just a different guitar player than when I was like when I had stopped playing before college.
Yeah.
I just become a much different guitar player, and I was mainly playing on acoustic instead of electric.
Can you talk more about that difference?
Yeah.
That growth, I say?
It was just like a spike, and I think a lot of it was because I had taken a gap year from school, and I was really because my mind was affected so much by like chronic illness. When I had kind of recovered from that, it was like the lights were turning on, and I was like all of a sudden seeing 2020, whereas before maybe 2010 or something like that, figuratively. And I had all this energy and like mental capacity to apply to something, and that ended up being, I think, guitar for a while. I was also listening to a ton of Townes Van Zandt, who we both share a deep affinity for, and Blaze Foley. And those two songwriters, just really spoke to me.
Yeah.
And their play style was also very in line with what I wanted to do. It's
Hmm.
a very full sound. There's a lot of like walking bass lines.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hammer claw. There's a lot of what I would say is like melodic rhythm, where like they're playing rhythm and they're like keeping some sort of percussion going
Yeah.
with the bass line, but there's also like a melodic like high note section. So it's super unique and it's very like folk country.
Yeah.
And it's like pretty technical for like for like country music. I wouldn't even really call it country. I'd call it like
Mm.
folk. But that inspired me, and I was really studying what they were doing, and I would just listen to them all the time. And I slowly started to kind of cultivate my own sound that I thought was not dissimilar from what they had done. Um, and I was writing a lot of poetry while I was in the treatment facility for chronic illness as well,
Oh, yeah.
and kind of put those things together.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I had a couple songs. When I wrote the songs, I thought they were like the best songs that had ever been written. Like 2 weeks later, I was like, these are actually the worst songs that have ever been written. And that's very fitting of my journey as an artist as well. Is just kind of feeling like whatever I'm working on today is the best thing that I've ever done,
Hmm.
and everything before that was
Hmm.
just stuff before that.
I thought that was just leading me to this song. That's really, yeah.
Yeah, so that's really how it all came to be. And then at a certain point, I started going to open mic nights and kind of putting it all out there. And that
Yeah.
was like a really high point, probably in my whole life, was going to that first big open mic,
Mm.
sharing music, having like a pretty warm reception of what I had to share, and thinking to myself, oh, maybe I could actually do this. And of course, I don't. I'm not a professional musician in that I don't. Um, I haven't pursued music full time.
Hmm.
Um, but it's left me feeling like I could,
Yeah.
and like it's still
Yeah.
probably one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done with my life is is making honest and truthful music.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing
Yeah, of course.
that whole journey. I mean, there's so much, and it's really, really beautiful to find that thing that lights you up, and then to allow yourself to really go for it in that
Yeah.
way. Um, when you started writing songs, what were you writing about?
It's funny. Like I wasn't in love at the time, but I wrote a lot of love songs.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like it lent itself to that.
Mm.
And my like to me, like a really honest song is, that's really what I try to do is try to make really truthful music and
Yeah.
music that's honest and in line with how I feel and who I am. And a lot of times that's really pretty figurative, and
Yeah.
it's kind of not a super literal thing. And a lot of times when I write music with people, they'll say, "What's the song about?" And like,
Mhm.
where are we going with this? What's the setting?
Sure. Yeah.
And it's almost like a creative workshop where you're writing like a short story or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like on the total opposite end of the spectrum. I'm like Jackson Pollock.
You're like, here's some words.
Yeah, not that I think I'm the Jackson Pollock of throwing words together, because I don't. But I really like the idea of stringing words together to evoke the emotion that you're feeling when you're writing the music.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what it was about. I mean, there was a lot of like melancholic songs. There was a lot of pretty. I love a good sad song.
Yeah.
Sad songs was my bread and butter.
Yeah.
There's some beautiful love songs in there too.
Did you feel like you ever had doubts along this path? Anything that kind of felt like, maybe I shouldn't do this, or
I'm crazy. Like
yeah,
anything I do,
you dive in.
I'm not gonna even touch something that I'm not convinced that I can do great. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe a character flaw. I'm just not. I'm not okay with feeling, feeling like I'm doing something that I'm not going to be great at.
Mm.
But I apply a lot of intensity to it.
Yeah.
So I felt like if I was going to be good at it, I felt like I wasn't going to be good at it unless I applied that intensity to it.
Yeah.
And there was no way that if I applied that intensity to it, that it wasn't going to go well.
Right.
And I believe that for everybody.
Yeah.
Like maybe I couldn't be like a quantum physicist, but like
Maybe enough hours studying quantum physics,
take that back. I could be a quantum physicist. No, but like there's certain things that just don't really like align with my
Yeah,
personality.
sure. It's like it would just be like
It's not that,
chalkboard, nails on chalkboard. Like, there's just certain things that are like to spend that time, the hours feels like work, and there's certain things that to spend all of those hours feels like play. It feels like a joy.
yeah,
And for all of us, I think those are different.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the point where I was playing like 5 hours a day, and I was writing songs
Yeah.
every single day,
Yeah.
putting new songs into my notes or
Yeah.
recording them or whatever it was. I was really confident that if I kept doing that with that same intensity, that
Yeah.
I could make a career out of it. I still feel that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What do you think? Is that something that you could see your life sort of turning that way?
yeah,
Exploring
I
it?
definitely could. I'm very open to my life going in that direction.
Yeah.
Um, you know, After kind of being full time in the workforce, between kind of where that story ends and today,
Yeah.
um, I would say, you know, doing great in your professional life is awesome,
Yeah.
and it's important to have financial stability, but there's really no comparison in terms of individual fulfillment
Mm-hmm.
between like the highs of um, work life and the highs of putting the most honest representation of yourself into your art, your medium of art,
Yeah.
sharing that with people, and knowing that it was received in like a very real way, and people resonated with that. And sometimes it's not even sharing it with people. Sometimes it's just the creative act.
Totally.
That's kind of something I was going to touch on too. When I first started songwriting, I think I mentioned like the first song I wrote with lyrics. I was like, oh, this is the best thing ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And I really wanted to record it and like put it out there.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm gonna do it great from the beginning. Like my first thing is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And I like tried to do that, and I like recorded it, and then I listened back to it, and I was like, it's not there yet. And like I
Yeah.
wasn't there yet. The song wasn't there yet. And
Yeah.
there were some really beautiful qualities to that song, but it wasn't um, what I wanted to put out there, or at least not at first.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, I became like more interested in the creative process than, sharing that with other
Yeah.
people. And that honestly still feels like pretty in line with me. Like I really love the act of making art. I'm less interested in promoting the art.
Yeah. I feel like that's so common that the artist and it's like if you want to do it like professionally or whatever, it's like you have to promote yourself. You have to be this like one person team of, your marketing expert as well as, a musician.
You have to be willing to, yeah, it's really a commitment. And there's something very non-committal about making art and not putting it out there,
Mm-hmm.
which, is something I don't necessarily like love that I've done is made a lot of art and not really put much out there.
Yeah.
Um, but
Do you feel like you're not releasing it because you want it to like quote unquote be better or it's not finished or you just what do you think that's
well,
stopping
I
you?
think about like a finished song that I would want to put like out there,
Yeah.
like a painting. And I
Okay.
think about um like let's say you write a poem.
Mm-hmm.
Those are notes, you know what I mean? They're
Mm.
notes about the sketch, with about the painting. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like
Mm.
I had notes, and then I did a lot of iPhone recording,
Yeah.
especially for the acoustic stuff, which I would call is like the equivalent of a sketch, because
Yeah.
they're imperfect,
Yeah.
and they're not perfect sound quality. The voice to the guitar audio
Right.
quality is not quite where I'd want it to be. Not to say I'd never release those.
But they don't feel like a finished track. They feel like a sketch.
They were never meant to be
Right,
finished
right,
works.
right.
They were meant to be placeholders, and like,
Yeah.
I'd remember them and
Yeah.
know where everything fit when it
Yeah.
came time to like produce them professionally
Yeah.
or, semi-professionally, whatever,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So do you think that you're gonna are there any that you feel like, ooh, I'd like to like give this particular song like the time to like be a
for
full
sure.
release thing? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I have a ton of stuff I'd love to do that with. It's just a matter of putting the time aside, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah, it's
I kind of had this
mhm.
idea that when I started finishing songs, I'd had like this running list of, oh, this song will be in my album.
Mm,
And then, I'd write 10 more songs and I'd be like, we're actually going to drop those five.
sure.
I'm sure you've been there too. And we're going to drop those five. And then I'd write 10 more and I'd be like, we're going to drop seven of those.
Yeah.
And that just kind of kept happening. And I became like kind of obsessive with this idea that that first album was going to be really good,
Right.
which I think was kind of toxic because it would
Sure.
have been better to just put out
Just
something
make
that
it.
wasn't that good and just get the snowball rolling. And
Yeah.
people who resonate are going to resonate, and the ones who don't are not, and that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot there.
So that's like a lesson I think I've learned. So if I ever have the time to kind of revisit it as more of a focal point of my life, which I definitely intend to,
Hmm.
then I would probably just be a little bit less nitpicky.
Yeah, the perfectionism. I heard this quote I really liked from Erik, who's this vocal coach, and like doing his like BBC masterclass. And like he said, don't strive for perfection, strive for greatness.
Mm.
Like perfection just doesn't exist,
Yeah.
but you can be great at something. That's cool.
Well, yeah. Sometimes the perfect thing is like a muddied up iPhone recording.
Yeah, there's like can be so much life, so much heart. Yeah, I was hearing about Prince. He recorded a track a day for like years.
Oh well.
Like there's this vault with thousands of recorded songs. Not just write a song a day, but actually fully record it. And he would do all the parts and he would mix it as he went. And he would just do it like in a take. And he's like, well, and even I heard when he was working with other musicians, he wanted those first takes because the first takes were just like had energy. And even if they weren't perfect, it was like that gave it life, that gave it humanness, it gave it, like there's a real human making this.
Yeah, I do kind of feel like the closer you get to like that finished, polished studio version of like a track that you recorded on your iPhone, you do lose something. And that's interesting. I mean, you have to be really special, I think, to carry that same energy from like the time that the idea was conceived
Yeah.
to like maybe months or weeks later when
Yeah.
you're producing that on like a professional level.
Yeah. And I think especially the type of music that you do if like with the guitar style and the voice, like it works so well with just those two elements. And it's very easy to overproduce something like that. Like the genuine emotion and the tenderness,
I appreciate
the
that.
vulnerability. Yeah, I think you don't want to like squash that with too much.
No, I think for that, and I call that kind of like a project because like it's very, very indie folk, very like bluegrass inspired. I think for that, if I was going to add more instrumentation, it would be like very thoughtful.
Yeah.
It could be a really like light drum kit, probably like an upright bass, and then like either banjo or violin or combination of those things. Just like bluegrass strings, but more to accentuate the sound, not to
just add a little here and there.
Yeah, because like the style that I cultivated, much like Towns and Blaze, fills a lot of space.
Yeah.
So like it wouldn't really make a lot of sense to bring in other mids and stuff like that. Like maybe lows and highs, but you wouldn't want too much stuff overlapping with the harmonic range of the guitar.
Yeah. Because our topic is growth, let's talk about the growth that happens with just one song. Of course, there's so much growth that happens over the whole lifetime of being an artist in any medium. But what's the journey like for you when you get that first, starting from the inspiration
Yeah.
and then going from, this final thing that you're like, I'm done working on that.
Yeah. I've always felt like I would be like a great jingle writer
Okay.
because like,
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
I could do 30 seconds like nobody's business. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like I could write the best 30-minute jingles, time and time again. Or not the best, but I think I could write some good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's great, but I think a lot of people can do that. And I think it's really the most challenging part about being a songwriter is taking a perfect 30 seconds and expanding that into, a 2 to 4 minute long song
Yeah.
without diminishing the quality of the idea that you had to begin with. And sometimes that process for me would take a couple hours, but more often than not, for my favorite ideas, they would take weeks or even months.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple times where it took me upwards of like 3 or 4 months to finish one song. But those songs are really special, and
Yeah.
I think I appreciate that. I mean, it's a double-sided sword because I appreciate that I spent the right amount of time on those to like
Yeah.
get like a product that I felt was really, um, like perfect to me,
Yeah.
even if it took longer than I wanted it to. But the other side of that is, you don't have anything to show for your great idea for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was like trying to do like a little bit more professionally, you might have to compromise at times, especially if like you really need to put out product in order
Mm-hmm.
to um, you know generate momentum and things like that.
Yeah.
But I never got to that point where I had to sacrifice creative quality or creative freedom
Yeah.
for monetization value. But a lot of people do get to that point.
Yeah. I was listening to a Maggie Rogers interview, and as like a professional and successful artist, it was interesting to hear how she was someone who really somehow had this relationship with her label where they're just like, you do your thing, and like her albums take like years. Like she
Oh,
really like, even her latest one, it was during COVID, and yeah, it was cool to see that like someone can be at that level and just still like, I'm taking my time.
you know who else is like that?
Mhm.
Frank Ocean.
Oh yeah.
Been a while.
Yeah. Hint, hint.
Well,
No pressure. We'd love some.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. No, sometimes things just take extra time. I've definitely been there myself. And just knowing I can't stop now. I'm not gonna say this is done because I know it's not done.
Right.
And yeah.
Well, sometimes you think something's done, you convince yourself that it's done, and you revisit it months later, and you're like, let's revisit that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something to be said about like, when it's finished, it needs to be finished for that reason. But I mean, there's no rules, but you don't want to let existing or previous projects prevent you from finding your next thing.
Right.
And I don't know. Sometimes I feel like if you don't complete ideas that the universe gives you, then you're
Yeah.
not going to get as many ideas.
I think that's so true. I think there is something like the universe, the ideas are out there in the universe, and it's the universe is waiting for someone to be that shepherd of them. And when you like, that's why putting in the time to just show up to your writing or show up to any your creative thing,
Yeah.
it's like it might take some time for ideas to come, but when you're just like, hey, if you give me an idea, I will make this into a song. I'm willing to see it through to the end. Yeah, I think you start getting more ideas because
Yeah, I think about that too. Especially like, as somebody who's, had a lot of decent ideas and, finished a lot of songs, but not put them out there. And then like, having some writer's block down the road,
mm-hmm.
when I wasn't playing as much, I was starting to wonder, is the universe giving me less ideas because I haven't put out the other ideas?
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know.
Well, I think I would say maybe. Just because I think that it's of course so valuable for us to just create just for ourselves, like just to go through that process and go through that change and growth that happens when we do that. But I do also think that like God or the universe or this like what it's all about. It wants us to create, to share, to like step into our own truth and our own power and
Yeah.
speak that truth so that we can awaken other people to do the same.
Yeah. I think I was playing one of the last open mics I played in San Diego was at the Stats, and my friend was recording me in the crowd.
Cool.
And like after I finished one of my songs, like somebody in the crowd was like, "Wow, I didn't expect to hear that today," or they just had like a really
Yeah.
really genuine compliment, and they didn't
Yeah.
expect me to hear it. And she was recording, and I heard it when I played back the recording to see how my set went. And
Oh, they didn't say it to you. They just
no,
said
they
it.
just said it,
Oh,
which was better.
even better.
It
Yeah.
was it was awesome, and I was
That
like,
is.
"Oh my gosh, I am effing up because I need to put some stuff out there."
Yeah.
Because I mean, if it just affected one person in like a small crowd, um, then maybe it'll affect two people. If you put it out there. Um,
It definitely will.
Often art affects us, the creator, or the receiver, dramatically. And if it affects us so dramatically, it would probably have a substantial impact on others.
Right? Right? It's like not everyone's going to get it, but there will be the people that get it and resonate it
Right.
with it.
I mean,
And
that's why we go to museums because we want to feel something.
we want to feel something. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you felt something when you made it, it's like it's good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I believe that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Is there a particular song that you've written that you feel like has changed you the most?
This could take a while.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of running through the catalog and
Yeah, I don't know. I think there was like a turning point when I stopped like leaning on cliches a little bit and um started writing more optimistically and making like an earnest effort to write more optimistically. It was actually my buddy Cal, who's really like a songwriting mentor to me. I would send him stuff and he'd be like, "Dude, this stuff is awesome. It sounds like you're like, like drowning underwater and like dying of heroin addiction. You sound like you're just like the most."
Did he mean that as a compliment?
Yeah, like totally. He was like, "This is so sad."
Great. Yeah.
But he was like, you need a couple happy songs."
Balance it out. Like,
And I was
okay,
like,
it's
yeah.
a little, yeah.
That's fair. So I started writing more optimistically. And I don't know, I never thought about like the sad songs as like really depressing, like from my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt like they were I don't know, just keeping it, just real.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And even if I was like, not feeling sad, I would still write, sad songs. So,
Yeah.
but there was a turning point where I started writing more optimistically and positively, probably sometime in 22, and kind of carried that momentum. And
So how did that change the experience for you in your songwriting?
yeah, I mean, I think if you are actually writing sad songs all the time, like I was, like
Yeah.
then like there is some association with like, like sadness and songwriting. So like you might enter your creative space, sit down with your cup of coffee and your guitar,
Yeah.
and feel like the only way to like get something out of the experience is to like, start thinking about sad stuff or like, put together kind of like melancholic lyrics and stuff like that. So I felt like that was kind of like a turn. I was like, okay, well, if I keep writing really sad indie folk music for
Yeah.
another like 5-10 years, it might be a problem.
Yeah. That's a good point. Like the long term.
And that's why I call it a project too, because like I kind of wanted to put it to rest for a while, build out a nice portfolio of songs in that vein,
Yeah.
put it out there,
Yeah. The sad album.
the sad folk album,
Yeah.
and then really focus on like indie rock or alt rock,
Yeah.
post punk kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and like more electric instruments like electric guitar, or maybe even like go back more seriously to like the synthesizers
Cool.
and make like electronic music again. But yeah, after like writing in the same vein of like indie folk for like 3-4 years,
Yeah.
I was pretty determined that if I was gonna like continue putting 3 to 5 hours a day into music,
Yeah.
I probably wanted to do something different genre wise.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It's
Yeah.
like you get to a point where you're like, I feel like I've climbed that mountain. You know, I'm
Right.
ready for a new mountain.
Yeah. And I think when you are working with like so many constraints, like
Hmm.
you just have an acoustic guitar in your voice, and that's
Yeah.
like all you're writing with for
Yeah.
years. Then when you plug in an electric guitar, it's pretty special.
Right.
Like you're like, whoa,
Well,
that is different.
yeah. And you know, I totally agree that the instrument that you write a song on totally affects the song that's written.
Oh yeah.
And guitar and voice, it's melancholy. Like, I don't know. I mean, you can write happy songs, but a lot of times they sound too like campfire.
Yeah.
You know, like kind of cheesy. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think the melancholy just works so well for just the singer-songwriter
Oh
or
yeah.
just a voice and guitar. Like,
That's it.
it's haunting.
It's haunting. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, electric is really fun, and it's fun to play with other people too. So
Yeah.
I feel like if I was going to pursue it full time, I
Yeah.
would definitely want to be a part of a band.
Yeah.
This does like, like I would want to spend a good chunk of my time writing for and being part of a band.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely sounds like you've experienced this one chapter and then it's like it's kind of time for the next chapter of music and
Yeah, for
you
sure.
you see what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be like a time in my life where there's a lot of like beautiful indie folk music flowing through me again. But it did feel like the time was right to like move to a different sound.
Yeah.
Obviously, this conversation is kind of giving me clarity on that.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love to hear that. Um,
Maybe it's not writer's block. It was just like,
yeah.
time to do something else.
Yeah. I can totally relate. Like sometimes it feels like you've been doing the same thing and it's not we need novelty for that spark, I think.
Yeah.
If we're not feeling like we're ingesting new things, you know, reading new books and watching interesting movies and shows and talking to people, like I feel like if you've ever done The Artist Way, if you haven't, it's great.
What is it?
Oh man. Okay. It's Julia Cameron's book, The Artist Way. Basically it's like a 12-week program to like unclear any blocks that you have and like get you to creating. And so you every day you do your morning pages where you write 3 pages of just whatever and it's kind of like
It's also
just
such a good tool.
it's so yeah, it gets that flow going, you're connected to something, you're out of your brain and you're just writing ideally. That's why it's good to do it in the morning when you're kind of just waking up. And then the other thing and why I thought of this was the artist's date she recommends, which is like once a week, cut out some time for yourself and go do something new. Do something that just sounds fun. And that's it. Be whatever. But the one rule is that you got to do it by yourself. And she's like, your inner artist is like this little child that just wants to go play. And so you have to take it out for a fun outing.
I actually am doing that.
Yes, love that.
I just signed up for a stone carving class.
That is so cool.
Where they teach you how to like carve marble.
Wow.
In Dallas, it's at Creative Arts Center.
Yeah.
I'm like, how often am I going to get the opportunity to learn how to carve marble?
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
I think that's probably going to help your music a lot too. Like I think having these outlets that are a creative and a craft that's different than like your craft, you know, the one that you have so much of your life like invested in.
I think working with your hands is pretty grounding too.
Yeah.
I think a big issue for me is just like the mental noise just picks up a lot. Kind of living in like the heart of Dallas and then also like working quite a bit and just a lot going on. So you don't really get your like your internal dialogue, or at least mine. I feel like it's not really like it's not really winding down in the same way that it was when I was like songwriting during COVID, and there like wasn't a lot going on. If that makes sense. I was spending a lot of time in nature.
Oh yeah, totally.
And,
like
cooking every meal.
Yeah, you're doing all of those things that just give you peace, like, that give you outlets.
If I want to write great music, all I have to do is quit my job, spend 90% of my waking hours in nature, and cook every meal. It's so easy.
So easy. Man, yeah. Why can't we all just like get universal basic income so we can all just do that, actually?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's a formula for like, highest probability of getting good creative results. I'm not currently, doing those things.
It's hard. It's hard because, it's like not only finding the time to create, but finding the time to do the self-care that you really need to show up for the creating in like
Yeah.
a good headspace,
I think that's valid.
you know. But of course then like the creating can be that in itself too. And I know personally sometimes I was struggling with music becoming like a source of stress instead of a source of joy,
I could see that.
you know, because I just want to be successful so badly. I want to be here and I'm here and just like,
I think it's a lot easier also, like, because you're keeping it real with yourself and you're like, okay, today was a better day of writing than yesterday, or vice versa. And if you have like, other big things going on, not to say that you don't, because you do, but like if I'm working and then I set aside like an hour a day, right, or even half an hour a day,
yeah.
and that doesn't go well, it's easy for me to be like, of course it didn't go well, and I have other stuff going on, and like, who cares if I'm not doing well at this? I'm doing, well at this.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like a comparison.
Yeah, like if you like expect every session to honestly be anything,
Yeah,
it loses the joy. You can't go in being like, I need it to be like this. Because
Totally.
then you're like controlling it. You're not playing with the universe anymore. You're like, it's my way. It needs to be this. And
yeah.
then it's not fun.
Well, I think like from that perspective, if I was in that situation and I was like pursuing music full time, I would probably um, try to spend less time songwriting, and I'd probably try to spend more time, um, just learning new instruments and stuff like that. And then I figured like, the songs would come, as a byproduct of like honing my craft.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, songwriting is its own craft for sure, but it is such a strange one because, yeah, you can be in this mode where it feels like you're using your mind to write the song, and then you can be in this mode where you feel like you're just sort of receiving it and you just like go for a walk and it plops into your mind,
And those are the ones that we're all after.
Right, because that feels so like magic.
If it is magic, and you're tuning into something that's, at least in my experience, and it sounds like in your experience too, not necessarily your own. And that's way cooler.
I know. I was like, I didn't come up with this. Yeah, I've been doing a practice of like channeling where I just like meditate and I breathe and I get really still and then I just ask a question and then I write. And the answer, like, it doesn't feel like me. It does not sound like my voice. And it's saying stuff that's like really smart, really wise. And so it's been this experience of like, it really feels like there's something bigger than our conscious or our self-conscious mind that is like available. And I think that's like, yeah.
And that's like a meditative process as well. Yeah, that's beautiful. Channeling. I think Towns talked about that too.
Oh, yeah?
In like an old radio interview I was listening to of him. He was saying like, I don't know if it was, it might have been Neil Young. He heard like a great song or something like that. And he was like, damn, that should have been mine. You know what I mean? Because
yes, like we were saying.
And he was alluding to feeling like songs really aren't your own, and especially the good ones.
Yeah, right.
The bad ones we can have.
One thing that Julia Cameron says in The Artist's Way is she's like, don't worry about the quality, worry about the quantity. Your job is the quantity, God's job is the quality. So you never get to say this was good or bad. You just say, I'm going to make as much as possible.
Well, my buddy Cal, said something. I was telling him like, yeah, songwriting, it's slowly becoming easier. And this was maybe like my second year of like spending that kind of energy on it.
Yeah.
It's getting slowly easier, and I feel like I can kind of write songs now. And he was like, yeah, man, once you get good enough, you'll be playing guitar while you're watching TV and you'll be writing a song about the commercial. And I think that's really a really cool like perspective on it too, is like, it doesn't have to be like your ability to write great songs doesn't have to be tied to the immediate quality of those songs.
Yes.
And it doesn't always have to be like the most heartfelt thing.
Yeah.
And if you're just like trying to continue becoming a better songwriter, you really can just write songs about commercials. And that's really great practice.
That silly songs are also, because we also, I feel like we even said it's like songs that have the truth, the heart, like those are the real songs. And yes, but also there's songs that you're like, you're just feeling kind of, like I want to say, for example, Tame Impala's song, The Less I Know, The Better.
Yeah.
They were like, these are the dumbest lyrics.
Yeah.
They were just like goofing, And I think the goofing energy, like the playful energy, You know,
I think
that's just as powerful as the like, I'm feeling this is my truth and I'm expressing. I don't know, you know, it's really good song can come from
yeah,
just sort of like, I'm messing around.
and that might be one of the best. And again, like these, I'm kind of getting a lot of clarity on these topics as we talk about them.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that might be one of the best solutions to writer's block is really just committing to still writing a song, but it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be like the most heartfelt song you ever written,
Right.
and it doesn't have to be like super serious. It could really just be about potato chips. And Blaze Foley
Yeah.
wrote a great song called Big Cheeseburger and Good French Fries, and it's really good.
Yeah.
It's a good song.
There you go. There you go. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Yeah. That it's just about making something. I had this thought of like just any type of art, good, bad, whatever. The worst art is better than nothing at all. And I thought about it. It's like you're having a conversation and someone starts just making up a story, right? And you don't know where it's going. It's like dumb, right?
Yeah.
But they're just saying stuff. And, you know, that time was way more interesting than if we had just been sitting there in silence.
Right.
To have a thing that now exists where it was nothing, the thing's always better than the no thing, I
Yeah.
think.
There's a couple anecdotes of like great artists that I think really defined kind of what art is, or what art was at the time, and redefined what an artistic medium could be. I think one of the great ones is James Turrell, who was one of the pioneers of the space and light movement, which actually I think had deep roots to Southern California and San Diego, where we are right now. But the idea was that the canvas would be the space that you were in. And often they would take rooms and they would create specialized skylights or, lighting against the walls and reshape the rooms and the seating so that you were meant to feel evoked, specific or indifferent emotion kind of when you entered the space, which was the
Cool.
medium. So there was no canvas. You weren't going into the room to stare at something specific.
Yeah.
It was just being in the room was the experience of the art.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah. That is, I mean, we want art to transport us.
yeah,
And like even in the case where it's like someone's saying a really dumb story, it's like if you feel like you're taken on some sort of journey,
yeah. It's just meant to make you feel something.
yeah.
Also, Brian Eno,
Yeah.
Music for Airport,
Right.
and the ambient music movement. I was listening to him on Rick Rubin's podcast. I don't know if it was Rick Rubin or Malcolm Gladwell interviewing him at the time, but it was on Broken Record.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I listened to that one.
Fantastic. It was a
Yeah.
really good podcast, and he talked about finding inspiration for ambient music, which was a genre that didn't exist yet, that he invented essentially by listening to, I think, music played on a record player through the wall of his apartment. His neighbor was playing music on a record player, and he was like, "God, that sounds really cool." Just kind of as background muddied through
Yeah.
through the wall. Maybe there was rain in the background. I don't remember the story perfectly, but I thought that was a beautiful anecdote as well for what art could be.
Yeah, totally. That it's anything that, yeah, I don't know. How would you define art?
Um, I feel like the mission of art is to make you feel something that you don't ordinarily feel.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree that it's
And
something.
I almost feel like art is easier to define what its purpose is than what it actually is. So it could be anything. It could be things that we don't yet see.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think art has some intention.
Yeah.
Like it was created. I mean, of course, it's like I'm just, doing my like throwing paint on the wall, right? It's
Yeah.
like how much intention. But there is intention there because it was like I'm gonna do a thing to see what happens. And yeah.
That's true. I mean, I see a lot of art on, social media and, a lot of the paint splattering phase that's kind of taken wind where people like spin these boards and like pour big buckets of paint over them.
Yeah.
And they look super cool.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like, I don't know, like, is that art? I mean, like, sure, it's art,
Yeah.
but like, it's not making me feel anything.
Gotcha.
And for that
Yeah.
reason, it's not earnest or it's not like a genuine expression of your own truth. So maybe I'm totally misinterpreting that, but I swear they just want it to look cool. And
Yeah.
it looks super cool. So it's
Right. If it, and it is like entertaining.
so I would say it's art, but you know, I don't know.
So like a
I don't know if it's a high caliber of
right.
art in my personal view of what art should be.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, do you think that art makes you grow? Like not just the creating it, but the consuming of art.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't spend as much time in museums as I'd like to, but
Hmm.
I always find that if you need a reset, you know, nothing resets you like looking at a great piece of art.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You can just stare at a great piece of art for hours. And I really like looking at paintings,
Yeah.
even though I'm not a painter. I find that there's something really,
Transporting.
yeah, it's very
Yeah.
transporting.
Yeah.
Puts things in perspective too. A lot of the life experiences of great visual artists comes through when you're looking at their paintings.
Yeah. It's yeah, I feel like most artists have really interesting lives just because like to be the kind of person where it's like what my purpose is to make these bizarre things, like often very
And that
bizarre.
it feels like so. It's so weird because it feels so egotistical to be like, I'm gonna do this, and and people are gonna and you know receive this and enjoy it. You know what I
Right.
mean? So you almost have to, there's not a, I don't know. It's so weird because I don't think there's a lot of ego in artistry in general and displaying your art. I
Yeah.
think a lot of it is just like people feel like art is really what they were born
They
to do,
have to do
and
it.
you have to do it. And the
Yeah.
only way to do what you have to do is to also share it with other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like you believe in yourself enough that you're like, I have to. Like,
Yeah,
I know I can do this. Like it's like you're saying, it's like this feeling of like, if I keep at this, it's gonna be good.
yeah. You have to make yourself vulnerable to be a great artist, which is
Mm-hmm.
difficult, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, you can be. And for a while, I didn't even really talk to people about like the art that I was making, and I was like, ah, you know, I wouldn't want to shatter people's image of me. You know, well, I didn't really care that much,
I know what you mean
but
though.
like they don't know me as that person, or like you know,
Yeah.
some people in my life wouldn't expect me to be like an artist also,
Yeah.
and I think that that's interesting too when you think about like potentially pivoting to being an artist on a more full-time basis. You know, it's kind of like you're aligning yourself um, in all areas of your life, not only emotionally and physically, but also socially with your art, and you're wearing your heart on your sleeve.
Yeah. Last night, my family was over for Thanksgiving and I shared my latest song. And it's like I had written it a while ago and it was like I've just been, producing and making this track and
Mm.
mixing and so fix it like focused on things like a good drum line and things like oh the keys coming in here and composition and all this other stuff besides what the song even was
Yeah.
was about and I hope that like all of those other choices were influenced by the story of the song.
Mm.
But what I'm gonna say is that when I played it, it just like dawned on me. It's like, oh, this is a sad song where I'm saying things like crying and like, describing like feeling like I'm out of hope. And like, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm showing this to my
Well, it's
parents.
not like the Beatles too. Like every Beatles song, like the lyrics are just like so deafening. They're so sad. I also like you know Chapel Roan, that
Oh yeah.
Pink Pony Club. Like
Oh, such a good
it's
one.
actually a great pop song, but if you listen to the lyrics, it's like what is she talking? Like that's so sad. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
No,
really know exactly
totally.
what it's about.
Oh yeah, that's such a good one. Yeah. I mean, I do feel like that one's like, I have a dream and I gotta do it. And I know it's like not I can't my parents aren't gonna understand it, but I have to do it anyways.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song.
It's so
Actually,
good. She's amazing.
one of the best pop songs I've heard in a while,
Yeah.
and that's why it's catching headwinds so quickly.
Yeah.
People are resonating with it.
Right? It's like I feel like she's just really being her true self.
Yeah,
And so people like can tell and they feel that in the
yeah,
music.
I resonate with that.
Yeah. So,
So, it's-
oh yeah, if there's
see if I
anything
forget.
else you want to mention.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
have you heard of the John From Cargo Cult?
No.
Do you know what a cargo cult is?
No.
They're like indigenous tribes of people in the Pacific Islands that like formed like interesting religions, I guess.
Oh.
And there's this one called John From, and I guess there was like this guy who worked for like a distribution company or something like back in the 60s, and he stumbled upon this, or they stopped by this island, and like I don't know what it was, but like these indigenous people thought that he was their god or like their messiah.
What?
So they started a religion around this guy named John,
Oh
and
my
I thought his name was John From because he was like, I'm John From.
God.
So they have, and it's like a very musical religion,
Yeah.
and they sing the most incredible music,
Wow.
and it's called the John From Cargo Cult. And I would highly recommend anybody
Amazing.
check out their
You
music.
heard it here. Check
Yeah.
it out.
Check out John From.
Amazing.
It could also be like totally made up because I just believe everything I read on the internet.
Well, it's such a good story. It just has to be true.
Yeah, I like to imagine that it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I like to wrap up each episode with a quick lightning round.
All
And I
right.
ask everyone the same questions.
Okay.
So, first off, what is a book that you recommend to everybody? Or one that's really affected you?
I've read most of the reading that I've done has been like spiritual reading about
Mhm.
um, saints and Eastern yogis and swamis. Um, and probably the book that's affected me the most in recent years was a historical biography about Saint Francis of Assisi by
Oh,
Donald Spateau, um, and it was called The Reluctant Saint. And I think what's really cool about the life of Saint Francis, even if you just look at it from a totally like historical perspective, and
yeah.
you strip out all the acclaimed miracles, which not saying that did or didn't happen, really cool life, and
Mm.
he was really a rock star of his own in his own right, and it's an incredibly inspirational story.
Yeah.
About somebody just going totally against the grain of what was like a social norm at the time, and even against the grain of what was considered the right way to worship God at the time,
Yeah.
and um, took his own interpretation of biblical teachings and pursued it to the fullest extent possible, and it's incredibly inspirational. And I think the fact that it's just based on fact, not to say that things excluded from the book were not fact, but just based on like provable fact,
Yeah.
and it was still that exceptional, makes it really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds like a good one.
Yeah,
I'll definitely check
highly
that out.
recommend it.
Yeah. Okay, next question.
Okay.
What is a new habit or life hack that you've been really enjoying lately?
God, that's tough. I feel like right now I'm really focused on like diving into tried and true habits, and
Sure,
reestablishing
Yeah.
habits. And I think affirmation is the one that comes to mind. And
Yeah.
I think luckily affirmation has taken root in popular culture, and
Yeah.
it's not really like a weird practice anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean, affirmation has just helped me tremendously. It continues to help me tremendously. Everything from founders of multi-billion dollar companies to creatives to monastic people have all utilized the power of affirmation to breathe into existence the reality in the internal and external life that they want for themselves.
Yeah.
And I really believe in that.
I do too. Are there any ones that come to mind that you've been like, oh yeah, that one's I've been grooving on?
I mean, affirming like mental clarity
Yeah.
and positive thinking are probably the biggest ones for me right now. Um, I mean, one that I just wrote down the other day that's new to me is like, I replace negative and destructive cognitive patterns with productive and positive patterns. And I think that's like an acknowledgement that we aren't always thinking in the most productive way,
Okay.
and trying to be aware of that, and then also instilling that we should make an effort to create productive and positive patterns, which should attract and manifest positive and productive outcomes.
Yeah. It's kind of like a snowball thing. You start doing one habit and good habit that you start building, and then it gets easier and you start picking up the new ones.
Yeah, it's a twofer too, because you're
Yeah.
shutting down the negative and
Yeah.
trying to create some space for positive things to breed.
Yes. Yeah, that can be so powerful. It's like, oh, I'm not even gonna worry about like quitting this bad habit. I'm just gonna like, instead of doing that, do this new thing and kind of like, yeah, like you said, a twofer.
Yeah,
Love
it's a
it.
twofer.
All right, final question. What advice would you give to your younger self?
I wrote a letter to my younger self the other day
Really?
in my journal,
That's so cool.
and if you haven't done that, I highly recommend it,
Yeah.
because I think you're more often than you think, your younger self is probably really proud of you. Yeah. So just hang in there,
Yeah.
things get good.
Things get good.
Yeah.
I think that's a great. That's the mic drop. Things get good.
Things do get good. Yeah. You got to, yeah. It's not always super fun. It's not always exactly the way that you want it to turn out, but I think if you apply the right kind of intensity and energy to your goals, they do eventually manifest.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a blast.
That was good contact.
Yeah. All right. Peace.